it is the material game, which is, like I said, chapter 13 describes this material world. That's why I think Krishna describes it so deeply, that we understand how the machine functions. And all those waves, they are part of this material game. But at the center point is the true love. And like I said, especially when you open the Pandora box, and I think there's many people who suffer a lot, and many people who actually don't endeavor too much on the spiritual path, because, like you said, it is tough. It is not just sweet. It's like you have to confront yourself with your different sides, and that creates a certain fear also. And where there's fear, there's an absence of love. Behind that fear, there is a huge potential. And so I often have this image in that moment where I actually dislike myself, because I can see I'm stuck in my negativity, in my arrogance, in my anger, in my jealousy, or whatever it be. I remember the love of God. Like, He loves me anyway. God loves the greatest sinner more than the greatest saint ever loves him. If he would, like, if the image I have also from the past, if the master would come, if God would come, if the Divine Mother would just take you in your arm in that state, and you say, "Oh, I'm like this," and just says, "I love you," and you're like, "Yep, doesn't matter, I love you." How soothing is that? How soothing is that to just say, okay, it's okay. I'm allowed to be. And now, because of that love, I will do my best to transform.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was speaking about earlier. That drive, like, I want to, because I love you, I want to love you the best way I possibly can, and I want to honor the love that you've given me, and that's, I mean, you've expressed it perfectly there. And it just takes on different forms and different vehicles and different instruments, but at the end of the day, that's the driving motivation. That's why I said that my sadhana intention is I want to express and experience love at the highest level. And like you said, we experience it. I mean, what a statement. God loves the biggest sinner more than the greatest saint loves him. That's true, right? And so that's the experience we're going to get. So it's like, okay, now I want to express at a level that is, let's say, dignified of that. And yet, by that statement, I'll always fail, because even if I become the greatest saint, I'm still going to be loving less than I'm experiencing, right? And then it's like, I think personally, and this is just my conviction, that there's even a level above the greatest saint, which is when I share in his nature. And when I am at that highest level, I think all this just goes out of the way, more or less, whatever. We're just going to be communing in love.
Once I'm sane of my material illness, that's good. That's good enough for now. I think a main point is just judgment. Judgment is something which I think is one of the greatest illness. In the Bible it says, "Don't judge, not to be judged." And I can just see how it destroys everything. Like, if God is love, He is love. In love there is no judgment. He loves, like we just said, the greatest sinner more than the greatest saint loves him. The Bhagavad Gita says the same thing, like, even if the greatest sinner turns towards him, he must be considered a saint. You see it in Christianity, Paul, who has transformed Valmiki in the Hindu, many, right?
Yeah.
If God created me, if I'm a part of God, and He loves me and doesn't judge me, who am I to judge me? Who am I to judge somebody? Who am I? What an arrogance of even doing that.
But I've had a difficult relationship with judgment in my spiritual life, because I can sign under everything you said about judgment destroying everything. At the same time, God doesn't judge. Who am I to judge? Agreed. God discerns. Who am I to not discern? You know, and so my battle has been finding the balance, or not crossing over that very thin line between those two things, because I agree we have no right to judge. I agree. Like, I'm not putting any sort of asterisk on this or caveat or whatever. That is the truth of the matter. And it's really hard for us as human beings to get out of that pattern. So I agree. But I think God is an intelligent God who is able to recognize what is dharma and what is adharma. In fact, he even says in the Gita that the degrading forms of intelligence are the ones that are no longer able to clearly identify what is one thing and what is another. So discernment is a divine quality that God possesses. And I therefore believe that it's our duty to equally discern and to equally then, the whole fact that we can speak about this is because there is one thing that is better than another thing. And
Absolutely.
we can discern those. And so it's just about navigating that and not falling into the trap of judgment.
The judgment, I think, where for me an observation or even a correction of something, because there is, as we both believe, objective right and objective wrong. Like there is dharma, adharma. There's things which are useful for a spiritual uplifting life, and there's things which are contrary to a spiritual uplifting life. And if the purpose of life is spiritual evolution, then obviously good and bad is related to the goal, right? So we have that goal, and there is the good and wrong. And especially as Swamis, we have in our domain, with our spiritual family, we have the core responsibility to also point out what could be right and what could be wrong, and
to inspire the right, to discourage the wrong.
Exactly. But you see already, you're using different words, inspire and discourage. It is not judgment, because when there's judgment, there's a bitterness in it. There's destructive energy into it, whatever. Yeah, there's something which is destructive, which is consumed, which is dark. And if I'm only discerning and saying, look, this is right, this is wrong, you want this, don't do this, I'm here to support you, whatever, or I'm pointing it out also, I think judgment depends on my state of being. The other person might still feel judged, but if I'm clean inside here, that there's love for you, I'm doing this out of love for you, I feel love, I feel affection for you, I say it to you because I love you, that's a judgment.
Nah, I get it. I was thinking, those two words, inspire and discourage, are I've settled on those after a long sort of reflections and stuff, and I really like them because it speaks to something that I can fully embrace. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their lives. I'm not here also to prohibit them from doing anything they want to do, right? I leave that right to God, right?
It's between them.
Right. But I am here to encourage, to inspire, let's say, goodness, right? And I should be here to discourage badness, right?
Absolutely.
As a servant of that Supreme. And I believe even if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a believer of God, you're not in any of this context, it doesn't matter. Those two things would still ring true to you. As a self-respecting person, as a person who wants to be truly happy, nothing will make you more proud of yourself or more respectful of yourself, and therefore satisfied at as deep a level as you can be within a non-religious framework, right? Then when you know that you stand for something good and that you bring good to the lives of others, you can make a difference in the lives of others, and at the same time you also stand for something that discourages, that acts against that which is not good, that which is hurtful and against well-being of every living being,